It's a question that, let's be honest, probably crosses our minds more than we'd like. You see the headlines, you hear the news, but what if? What if the unthinkable actually happened? What if World War III started, like, tomorrow? Yeah, we hear phrases just like this all the time on the news, right? It's become this constant low-level hum in the background of our lives. It always feels distant, though, like something that's just happening over there. But let's get real for a second. What would actually happen if World War III broke out tomorrow? I'm not talking about some Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, in our world, right now. We're going to peel back the layers, move past the headlines, and actually walk through a realistic, step-by-step scenario of how a modern conflict like this would almost certainly unfold. So, where does a global fire even start? Well, it's probably not how you imagine it. It's not some massive worldwide explosion all at once. It starts with a single dangerous spark. Let's take a look at the very first step on what they call the escalation ladder. See, the whole idea of every country just declaring war on each other on the same day, that's kind of a relic of the past. Today's conflicts, they are way more calculated. They almost always start small, in one very specific, highly contested part of the world. And that single regional trigger has a name. It's called a flashpoint. You should really think of it like a geopolitical tripwire. It's a place where the interests of major world powers are just clashing so intensely that one tiny incident could ignite a much, much larger conflict. And listen, these aren't just random examples we're pulling out of thin air. Based on current global tensions, these are the specific areas that analysts are watching like a hawk. A crisis over Taiwan, the war in Ukraine expanding, or a major escalation in the Middle East. Any one of these has the potential to pull in the superpowers and all their allies, turning what was a local fight into a global one. Okay, so a spark in one of these flashpoints is obviously bad, but it's what happens next that truly creates a world war. This is where the first domino falls, setting off a global chain reaction. This is the moment where treaties and pacts that were signed decades ago suddenly become the most important documents on the entire planet. That core promise, an attack on one is an attack on all. That's the single line that can drag the whole world into the fight. So on one hand, you have these incredibly powerful military alliances like NATO, which basically legally requires a collective defense. And on the other hand, you have bodies like the United Nations, which would instantly become the frantic beating heart of last-ditch diplomatic efforts to stop the world from sliding into total war. And just like that, the abstract language of those old treaties becomes terrifyingly real. We're talking millions of soldiers getting deployed, naval fleets setting sail, and air forces scrambling across entire continents. The global machine of war, it really starts to move. But here's the thing. While all those troops are on the move, another war has already started. It's a war you can't see, but one you would absolutely feel. This is the third, and maybe the most critical, stage of any modern conflict. Yeah, in the 21st century, the first shots aren't fired with guns. They're fired with code. And this is so important to understand. Before the first missile ever flies, the battle for information and infrastructure is already raging. The goal? It's simple. Paralyze your enemy from the inside out, making it basically impossible for them to fight back effectively. Just think about what this would actually mean for your daily life. First, hackers would go after essential infrastructure. I'm talking about the banking system, transportation, even your water supply. Then they'd go for communications, blinding the military by knocking out satellites. And finally, the knockout blow. They hit the power grids, plunging entire cities into darkness and total chaos. So, with the digital world in absolute chaos and armies now on the move, the war opens up a devastating new front. And this is the one that affects every single person on the planet, no matter where you live. See, our modern world runs on this unbelievably complex and honestly fragile system of global trade. A major war doesn't just disrupt that system, it completely shatters it. Almost instantly, you'd see stock markets go into a complete freefall, as all confidence just evaporates. Critical shipping lanes would become active war zones, grinding the flow of everyday goods to a halt. Everything from your phone to the food in your grocery store. And with oil routes threatened, you can bet the price of gas and energy would skyrocket, making everything else impossibly expensive. Okay, so let's recap. The world is in chaos. Digital systems are down, economies are collapsing, and conventional armies are fighting it out. This brings us to the final, terrifying step on the ladder of escalation. When a superpower feels like it's losing, when its back is truly against the wall, the unthinkable suddenly becomes a strategic option on the table. This is the moment the entire world has been dreading since 1945. And it all comes down to this doctrine of MAD, mutually assured destruction. Honestly, it's the main reason a major global war hasn't happened in over 75 years. The logic is as simple as it is terrifying. If you launch your nukes, we will launch ours, and there will be no one left to celebrate a victory. It's supposed to be a deterrent, but really, it's a gamble with the fate of all humanity. So, after we've traced this whole path from a single flashpoint through alliances, cyber attacks, and economic collapse, we arrive at a truly chilling realization. This wouldn't be a war about redrawing borders or changing a government anymore. The scale of the destruction, from the digital to the economic to the nuclear, it would be so profound, it would threaten the very foundations of modern life as we know it. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world this connected, with our instant communication, our intertwined economies, and our shared global threats, is any war truly somewhere else anymore? The idea that a major conflict can be neatly contained over there might just be the most dangerous fiction of all.